You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. And today on the Super Special Awesome podcast for wonderful, super special awesome humans that love to promote themselves and help others advance in life, it's the Going North podcast. And we got one heck of a powerhouse guest for you today, my friends. A powerhouse guest for you today. Because my goodness, our wonderful guest today, she helps mission-driven authors, coaches, and consultants create authority positioning and thought leadership. She helps them become highly visible. You heard that right, folks. Extra weed, the best weed in the dispensary, highly visible, so they can attract more pre-sold clients and grow their businesses more and easily. Just to name a few of her accomplishments, she's a seasoned professional with 13 years, you heard that right, folks. 13 years of experience in the PR world. Named one of the top 100 people online by Fast Company. You heard that right, folks. And she's been featured and or quoted in a ton of media outlets like ABC, CBS, the New York Enterprise Report, the Star Ledger, CNN, and so many others. And what's even better and not butter is that she's helped over 200, you heard that right, folks, 200 authors achieve bestseller status. Heck, she might have reached Sparta status by the end of 2021. So let's give it up for the one, the only, JT herself, Ms. Jane Tabachnick. How you doing today, Jane?
Hey, Dom. Thanks for having me, and thanks for that wonderful intro.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. One of the better parts of the show before we go down the rabbit hole, and I occasionally mention trees and random penguins, but hey, it's all good.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Fun on the magical button days. So my goodness, congrats. 13 years of success that keeps on rolling and going. So my goodness. Like, if I'm not mistaken, like where did it really all begin? Because I'm not mistaken, you're a recovering fashion designer, right?
That is correct. And that's actually where it began. So as a fashion designer, I needed to get my clothing seen. And this is before the internet, so I couldn't just put up a website and put my designs online. So I needed to get in front of the buyers and my potential clients. And I was having a challenge doing that. No one knew my name yet. So I realized that publicity could be a good way for me to do that. And I got some books out of the library. I figured out as much as I could. And I started sending out notes to the press releases, and didn't hear anything, and thought maybe I need to fine tune this a little bit. So instead of just saying, hey, I've got this new collection I'd like to show you, I started telling a story about how the collection came to be. And that's when I started having success. So storytelling is really powerful, and it gets people's attention and it engages them more. So fast forward, I had some great success and fun in the fashion business, but I decided at a point that I was ready for a change. And when I took stock of what I had done, what I enjoyed, what I thought I was good at, it was the PR and creating visibility. And I decided to start offering that to clients of my own. So right at the time that happened, right after I left the fashion business, I discovered the internet. This sounds so funny. It sounds so funny saying it now, but it was new. It wasn't just bright, shiny object, but I thought this is going to be an incredible communication and visibility vehicle. It's going to be big, which, it hasn't proven me wrong yet. So I discovered there is an inner geek in me, and I have been helping clients get more visibility, both online and offline since then.
There we go. Hashtag inner geek. That's right. That's right. Geeks are freaking awesome. Like, they gave us the internet. They gave us the iPhone. Heck, in your case, they gave us like 8-pack ab PR here.
I love it. I'm going to quote you on that.
Sweet. Yes, indeed. An occasional quotable quote comes out every now and then for all the
A
way from.
soundbite.
Ooh, even better. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's like, yeah, that's right. James, you'll get your PR plan in place, y'all. You'll be fit. 8-pack abs, baby. That's right.
Yeah, and that's such a great thing, Dom. You just came out with that, and you're a natural at that. But naming things, so giving something a brand, and that was such a great visual. When you think of 6-pack or 8-pack abs, you immediately have a visual, and not always associated with PR. So that's a great kind of juxtaposition. So you intrinsically and naturally did something really great there that is interesting, compelling, and would make a great story. And that's what PR is really all about.
Well, thank you, indeed. So all that reading's coming out in good ways, indeed. You're so right about that because it's so darn true. And I'm actually glad you mentioned how you actually got into the PR world and how storytelling really is kind of really like the bread and butter of really PR and really business. Eventually, it leads to that cash flow because we all really love stories, and it's really what keeps us going.
Yeah, and according to the scientists, our brains are wired for stories, and they're so much more interesting than just facts. I mean, facts are great, and they help substantiate a story we're telling or to inform our listeners, readers, audience about something that we might be interested in and want to know about. But the story is what really engages our brain and our soul, and on an emotional level, and it stays with us longer. And as a matter of fact, this is kind of corny, but when I was in school, I was a decent student, but I wasn't that great with the facts, and I wasn't that interested in history, like the wars and how many people were killed, that kind of thing. But if the teacher had told a story about how the king had this girlfriend, or this side lady in waiting, I would always remember that. But the darn thing was, they never asked that question on the test.
Typical school, always at it again, giving you the
Yeah,
questions you don't want.
exactly.
It's like, hey, like you can ignore this part, it won't be on the test. Like, all right, so that's gonna be on the test. All right, trap number one. It's like they got me the last time with this, they ain't getting me this time.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. Like an inner geek who was pretty decent at school. It's like it's kind of funny. Like there's like a trend here with those like later in life, that whole late bloomer thing when it comes to success. Like school doesn't always end up aligning with how life goes because it seems like you're able to really help yourself and others create an extraordinary life, right?
Yeah, that's what I like to do, and that's what gives me a feeling of satisfaction, helping others. And I think one of my favorite quotes: "If you help enough people get what they want, you can get what you want." I think that was Zig Ziglar who said that, and that's really a great. I think it's a great way to operate, but it really can help you get publicity, because if you help journalists, for example, get their work out there and get their work seen and help them give good content and value to their audience, you'll get the press that you're seeking. Because if you approach them with, "Hey, I want to be in your magazine, I'm cool," they're like, "Who cares? Who are you?" But if you say, "Look, I like the work that you're doing, and I've read your articles and I've gotten value out of them, and I have something that I think your audience would get value from. It happens to be about my company or some work that we're doing." So it's almost more like a byproduct. The result that you get is almost the byproduct of doing that, but you get the press. So I look at that as a win-win-win.
Oh yeah, that's right. The triple W right there. That's right. Triple crown all day and day because you're so darn right. Heck, that even leads to probably one of my questions I had listed down is what do you think are the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to PR in general?
Yeah, so what I just mentioned is really a big mistake, making it about you. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to get press and visibility. That's actually a great goal I encourage everyone to go after, but it's how you position it and how you present yourself. And, if you can make it about what's in it for them, you still will get the press, you still win, but you are able to, as I said, have them see the value and share the value with their audience. And that's really what they care about. The next mistake that people make is not republishing or repromoting the press they get. So if you think about the incredible amount of messages we are all bombarded with each day, every day, whether you're out and about having ads flashed at you when you're online at the supermarket, checkout counter in the train station, or you're online or on your phone, they're just ads and messages everywhere, and it's really overwhelming. So what you want to do when you get press is put it into your social media scheduler, repost it in different formats so that it gets seen by your audience, your prospects, a lot of people out there, because they may have missed it. When you get featured in Forbes, woohoo, but they may not have read Forbes, so they won't have seen it. So you don't want to limit the amount of exposure you get. So you want to keep sharing it, not just right when it happens, but 6 weeks later, another 6 weeks later, remind people of this incredible press that you got. And also you can add it to your social profiles or to proposals as a credibility factor, trust factor, because that third-party credibility, that media coverage really goes a long way.
Oh yeah, you can say that again. And heck, even that was something I had to learn myself a while ago with the show, because it's like, hey, it's out there, it's cool, it's freaking amazing. But it's like you said earlier, it's like, hey, Going North podcast, the heck is this? If people don't really know me, it's like I had to learn how to repurpose things in different forms and different social media platforms, and you're so right about that. Like you can't just like post it once or appear on TV once and it'll be great for everybody who saw it at that one time. Like you gotta really keep using it as much as possible, especially if it's something that's evergreen, that'll actually be evergreen publicity for your business. Heck, even they're not as popular now, but I'm pretty sure you've seen a ton of, sometimes folks have their profile pictures and then they have this sort of white bar on the sides, like featured on CBS and NBC and all these other things and whatnot. Kind of like those, but probably not doing it that way. Maybe preferably having like an image or something of it on your website or something, as opposed to that type of profile picture.
Yeah, there are a number of ways that you can do it. And you mentioned such a good thing, Dom, which is repurposing into different formats, because everyone consumes different types of content. And some people like multiple formats. Some people only like to watch videos. So the more content or formats you can repurpose it into, the more people that you can engage, and can also seem like fresh content if it's in a new format. So you might as well maximize it in as many ways as possible, multiple times. And it's an asset, which is another reason that you want to continue to share it. And it creates that trust factor, as I mentioned. So that's really, really valuable. It can take a cold prospect, someone who just encountered you online for the first time, and turn them into a warm prospect, because you've got the positive association of that media outlet.
Ah, yes, indeed. You can definitely say that again, especially when the cold weather comes. Like, yeah, I need me the warm prospects here. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, on average, the repurposing, I'd have to, out of curiosity, do you think there's like multiple ways? Like, what's the max from your experience? How many pieces of content have you actually able to create from one media appearance, depending on the appearance?
I've never counted, but there could easily be 10. So if you think about it, say you did a TV interview, you would have the video clip. You could then spin off an audio clip. You could transcribe it, and you could pull quotes from it, which you could either use as tweets, just text-based, or you could turn it into a graphic-based quote and use that. So there are just so many opportunities. I love the audiograms, which are those graphics that have the sound wave moving. They look like a static graphic, except for the sound wave. And those are a great other way to repurpose your content.
I love that answer indeed, because that's like one of the biggest things there. It's like, hey, create multiple pieces of content after one. It's like 10 ways. Like, oh, didn't even think of it as a didn't even think a Twitter post would count towards that, but it freaking does. And then take it to the next level, make a social graphic out of it. And audiograms, love those. Folks usually love those. Like, hey, I heard your podcast through this wonderful audiogram. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, indeed. So that's right. So 10 pieces of content coming out of this one interview. That's right. That's right. There's a gold mine already here, folks. That's right. There's a gold mine already. So y'all better be taking all sorts of notes from Jane, because you haven't even scratched the surface. Probably haven't even pulled out a nail yet.
Ouch.
Oh, man. But yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So in addition to this wonderful PR experience that has allowed you to not only help yourself, but help over 200 authors, my goodness, do you believe there's going to be another book project in the future for you?
One of my own books?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I've got a few, like many entrepreneurs and authors who come to me, I have a few ideas. So I'm not sure what the next one is, but there's definitely another book.
There you go. There you go, indeed. That's right. So the goal is 500 books in like 30 years. I got you.
No, I don't think 500 books. Maybe 5.
There you go. I guess that's a more sane number.
Yeah, look, I said to one of my client May once, there are books and there are books. So there are people who have a lot of books out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can have short books. You can write a 50-page book or even 25 pages and publish it on Amazon. And that's one type of book. It can be great content, and 25 pages is all that you need, and better to have 25 on-point pages and lots of fluff to get it to 100, because fluff is fluff. Extra calories we don't need, right? And so you can also have a 200-page book with lots of footnotes and research and anecdotes. So there are different types of books, and they can serve different needs. And the length of the book or the style is not really an indicator. I just was looking into short books and how they've done, and there's a book that some of the listeners may be familiar with called Who Moved My Cheese, which was written, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. And it still sells a ton of books a day, and it's about 90 pages. It's not even 100 pages. So it's a fairly short book, but it accomplishes what it needs to in that amount of pages, no more, no less. And it keeps selling. It was probably a New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller. And it's still being bought hundreds of books a day, which is pretty incredible, considering most authors, unfortunately, sell maybe 200 books in a lifetime.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Definitely true. I mean, heck, even like it was really a good book, really good book, and a great story too. It's like, funny enough, although one of my colleagues wasn't a fan of it too much. He looked at it from the opposite end, because apparently, like, some companies would hand this book out to people to make them feel less bad about restructuring. So it's like, oh, wow, like, take it or leave it, I guess. Oh man, and I guess from the restructuring aspect of that, I guess that's more of a reason why good PR is needed. When, heck, even for maybe not even for entrepreneurs, maybe even like at a lower level of those who are just looking to build their own personal brand, since that also is entailed with PR, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I think you can call it restructuring or pivoting or reinventing, but I think that that's really some of the key to success, is to stay curious, and you don't have to totally pivot 180 degrees or more, but sometimes being aware of what's going on in the marketplace and how you're growing as an individual and shifting your brand accordingly can be really, really valuable. And it not only helps you, but it helps the people that you're working with. And, humans, I think, are naturally resistant to change, and we like getting comfortable. But you've probably heard the saying, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. And so sometimes you have to get outside of that comfort to help enable those changes to take place and to become a better version of yourself.
Oh, yeah. That's right, indeed. Curiosity, indeed. That's right. Curiosity is required. Heck, even reinvention. Heck, even one of my favorite words on this podcast because it's so darn true. It's like you gotta always reinvent yourself because folks get bored easily. Not to mention that one reinvention phase might be the one you needed.
Exactly.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Heck, that probably even happened with yourself because I believe online you actually have this wonderful assessment for those who may want to learn more about PR and just get that little assessment of how they may be doing currently in their PR too. Because you didn't always have that at first, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I put together the visibility assessment, which you can find via my website. It's Simply Good Press. It's free. It's fun. It's not like you're getting graded for school. I've had a few people react that way. No, this is all good. So the idea of the assessment is to get a sense of how you're doing with your visibility now and what kind of opportunities are available to you should you want to position yourself to get more visibility and authority positioning.
Amen to that. That authority positioning indeed. So my goodness, so when it comes to authority positioning, like the classic thing is, oh, publish that wonderful book. Heck, so even now this podcast got started, is there any other ways to position yourself as an authority with the power of PR?
Yeah, so getting PR, as we've spoken about, is pretty valuable because you do get that positive association with a brand. So if you're featured in the New York Times, people associate you with that publication, whatever you think of the publication. It is a nationally recognized brand. And so that's really powerful. They chose to write about you, not the other people in your niche or space, et cetera. The other thing that you can do is be a podcast guest. That's an incredibly great way to get authority, positioning, and visibility. And the third way, which is I think of as part of PR nowadays, is to become a contributor to a publication or a blog. So to publish bylined articles. Again, you get that positive association with the brand. It's almost like the blog or the publication is endorsing you. It's that perceived endorsement, but they're not endorsing you, but they have chosen you over other people and given you space in their publication or blog. And that's pretty powerful.
Oh, yes, indeed. You can definitely say that again. It's so darn true indeed. It's like, oh, don't want to get on this newspaper. They have certain views I don't like. Well, hey, they may have some folks in that audience that'll like you. That's the thing. Like, focus on the benefits of doing the magic. So, my goodness. So, with all this wonderful stuff, including that wonderful assessment, like, folks probably like thinking, like, oh man, it's like so much. Like maybe I should like hire a company for maybe what I'm doing or maybe doing something else. So where do you think folks should really get started when it comes to their PR with all this wonderful ideas that we have for getting their voices out there and the stories and their messages out there?
Yeah, so I would say try and get an understanding of what PR is because it's different than marketing, it's different than advertising, and it can be a little bit nuanced. And, there's a lot of information available online. I'm told there's some good information on my blog, so you can have a visit there. And then start doing something simple every day. So what can you do? So PR is about relationships. If you think about it, PR stands for public relations, relationships. So, and we sometimes forget that, but the first thing I will say is there is someone in your network who is working in the media. They might be a podcast host. They might be a journalist or an editor, and you might sit next to them at church or synagogue. They might be in a Facebook group you're in, but you definitely know someone. And that's a great start. I would encourage you to get to know more people in the media. And the best way to do that is what I call hug an influencer. So an influencer can be an Instagram influencer, someone in the media, someone that you see as an authority or expert that you'd like to get to know. Follow them on social media. This is authentic, not just for the sake of getting in their good graces. Like their content, share their content, comment on their content, engage with them. And some really magical things happen when you do this. First of all, you build a relationship. Sometimes you end up having an online conversation with them, which can be really fun. And as happened to a few of my clients, they may reach out to you after an amount of time and say, hey, I noticed you're following me. Who are you? What do you do? And conversations happen. And two of my clients, through this, without any set intention, just the intention to build more of their network and be of service to other people, got invited onto some top podcasts by doing this. So it's a fun, great way to support other people, and things happen that may be unexpected. And after a time, after you're on their radar, maybe you've had a short conversation, that's the best time to pitch them. You're familiar to them. You've already given something to them before you've made an ask. And that's so much better position than to just show up. They don't know who you are. And you're saying, hey, I'd like you to write about me.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right, indeed. Heck, even goes back to the first point, indeed. Just don't go up to people like, hey, I'm freaking amazing. Like, have you on your show, your podcast, like, write about me. Like, and they were like, dude, that's a waste of time. I don't even know who you are yet. Like, at least say hi first.
Yeah, exactly. Can we say hello first?
Heck, kind of reminds me of those wonderful, reminds me of Facebook and LinkedIn nowadays, where people just pop in your inbox and your message, you'll be like, hey, buddy, how's it going? I got this thing for your business. Hey, I see on your profile that you're with this person and it says you're an author, but what do you do? I'm like, okay, all right. Bad question. I'm gonna ghost you now.
Yeah. Yeah. The direct pitch like that doesn't work. Or asking questions. What do you do? Well, it's on my profile, maybe.
Exactly. Like, I still feel like that's one. Like, if it's like a physical face-to-face networking event, that makes sense. But like
Yes.
online, if you friend somebody and it's like, dude, it's all there. And
Yes.
even though some of it's archaic, like some of it's still relevant here.
Yeah. Well, my other question in my mind is, are you a bot or are you a person? Because a bot might not be trained better. So it's asking those questions that would have an obvious, if they looked, would have an obvious answer.
Oh, man. You know, that's so true. Kind of reminds me of those voicemails. Like, remember a buddy of mine joking a year ago or so that he was actually having a conversation with a whole automated voicemail machine. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. But it ain't about bots. It's about the joyful Jane and the magic of PR. It ain't just talking about personal reps either. So when it comes to you being on the guest side of the game on these wonderful podcasts, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Yeah. How can I make it easier for someone to write about me?
Ah, there we go. And how does one do that? Make it easy as apple pie for 'em.
Yeah. So I actually call it becoming a media darling. It's pretty simple. So I liken it to giving a gift to the journalist. So you want to have all your info ready. So that would be a short form and long form bio, a professional headshot, which if you are an author, you would also want a high resolution book cover image, or if you have products, high quality product images, and create a folder in the cloud with all that good information in it. So it's easy to say, hey, here's all my information, because sometimes the media can't accept attachments. So if you have a link to a folder, they can easily download what they need. And the other thing is, make sure you give them your best contact info. Nowadays, a lot of times they won't have time to do an interview. They may just email you. But if they do want to call you, make that number easy for them to find and make sure you're answering it. So those are the main tips.
Ah, I love it indeed. And that's a good point about the attachment, because you're so right, because a lot of people may have forgotten or just don't know about that part. It's like, hey, here's attached of this, that, and my, heck, even first chapter of a book or whatever as an author. And some place, especially if it's like a place with a nice firewall, one of those corporations, they're most likely going to block it or probably put it in the spam or something. And that just puts you even less of a chance of getting that PR opportunity. So that's a Definitely a solid good tip right there. Make a digital folder, all your media assets for them, and be approachable and answer the magical phone or the email.
Yes. And if they give you a deadline, make sure to meet it.
That's right. You heard that right, folks. Protein is involved. Meet that deadline. That's right. Oh, God. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Believe in yourself. I'd also say be good to yourself, because there are lots of people out there who may try and steal your thunder, or may, because of their own agenda, may be not so kind or supportive. So believe in yourself and be kind to yourself, and surround yourself with great people.
Woo! Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. Indeed, believe in yourself. If folks try to steal your thunder, tell them to go back to where they came from.
Where they
Darn it.
came from. That's a nice way to put it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, maybe not the womb. Don't go back in there. I don't think anybody needs to go back in there. But definitely go like from under the bridge or something. Like that's probably the better location for
Yeah.
where they came from. Oh man. Yes indeed. Yes indeed. So for those who want to keep in magical contact with Jubilant Jane herself, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Yeah. If you go to simplygoodpress.com, you'll find the assessment. You'll find all my contact info, and I'd love to hear from folks.
Ah. Well, there you have it, folks. Simplygoodpress.com. Simplygoodpress.com. That's right. Simplygoodpress.com. Press on that button on your computer. Go to that website. Even have some French press coffee while you're on the way to the website, too. That's right. Unleash your PR muscles. That's right. She'll give you those 8-pack abs, baby. I'm telling you. You won't even have to go to an actual gym for these abs. It's wonderful.
I want me some of that.
Oh, don't we all?
Right?
The in shape part is fun when you're in shape. The getting back in shape part's never fun.
He says coming out of a pandemic, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The COVID-19 was the pounds, not the actual virus. Let me stop. Oh, God. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, alrighty. Any closing thoughts before we close up shop?
Yeah, get in the game. So do one simple thing each day to get more visibility, connect with someone in the media, and share and like someone else's content.
Hey, 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 you super special, awesome human. Thanks a bunch for listening to this podcast episode. Hope you really enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to this show if you haven't already, because more greatness is coming your way. And if you're so inclined, be sure to share with at least 3 other people in your network, so that way more folks can catch the fire that is on the Going North podcast. Keep winning at life and advance others to advance yourself.